Get on my face, Nat. Come on. We're trying to get this chill on. Let's get a groove on. Here we go. Here we go. Oh my goodness. We're live. Everyone, thank you for joining us. We are live on the recording of the Overland Podcast. This is Wolfman Jack coming to you live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're going to see through the night with a little Bon Jovi. Living on a prayer. It's 3 a.m. What are you doing up? Are you grabbing that shredded cheese out of the fridge? We know you want it. Are you letting your dog out? Because then we could sing Who Let the Dogs Out. I mean, what does people do at 3 a.m. other than read their Kindles, lay in bed because they can't sleep or because they got to pee?
That's it.
Close your eyes. Get on back to it. We're going to sing you to sleep with a little funk. Here we go. Yeah. I've been practicing my Wolfman Jack.
It sounds so good.
Oh my goodness. Well, you know, it's something. It's something. Well, here we go. Thank y'all for joining us. You're live on the Overland Podcast. We'll be right back. Thank you for watching or listening to the Overland Podcast. We're excited to be here. We're coming to you live as we do each week, bringing you the latest in all things outdoors and overlanding. The live show contains listeners, so join us with your comments and questions. Here we go. No pros, just bros on this show. No bros on this show, just my wife and I.
Hey.
Because, welcome, my love.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, Tony's daughter has decided to play softball, and sometimes that occurs on Tuesday, and we always preach family first. So I told him to go. We would handle it.
Yay, McKenna.
We have plenty to talk about. So
we do.
Jesse McBride, thank you for being here. I'll tell you what's happening over here. I had a little bit too much Logic Overland coffee in my cup, and I got a little pumped up when we hit the go button. So here we go.
We're doing, what is it, lo-fi? Is that or what's the name of that kind of music?
I don't know what that is.
It's
lo-fi?
all chill.
I guess I've ever
yeah, like it's like chill. Like it's like,
yeah.
Or maybe it's
it sounds like we're partaking in the herb music, watching the disco ball go around.
No.
But we're not doing that. I want to mention this while we're doing the intro here. It is National Police Week. Thank you for all who serve. We proudly support all the men and women in blue out there. And, we work very closely with Okie Overland, Kyle's former sheriff, and also Blue Line Overland. They do a lot for the children. So anyway, thank y'all for being here. Hope y'all are out there having a great week. Galen, thank you for being here. Jesse says we're vibing. Yeah, we're vibing.
That's exactly it.
That's what we're doing.
It's a Tuesday night.
It is a Tuesday night.
It is.
Well, it was a couple weekends ago. We were out with, and even at around More Expo, we got to see people and sit around and do some stuff. But a couple weekends ago, we were with Go Explore on the High Water Mark Trail, and the weather ended up being absolutely perfect. It was so good, and we got to sit around and we got to visit with people, and we got, it's all walks of life, and everybody drove something different, and everybody had been off-roading a little bit. Some had done it a year, some had done it 5 years, some had done it, this was their first time, some of them had just got a brand new vehicle, and we had all kinds of people there, so you got to listen to where people were from. You got to listen to how they built their rigs and why. You got to catch up on old times with Brad and Tony and Matt and his wife from Gen Xers, and just got to see everybody. And it was cool sitting around the fire and listening to all the conversations that were going on. Sometimes there were 5-6 different conversations going on, and I like to sit there and sometimes tell a story. Sometimes I like to sit there and just listen to what people, maybe
Mhm.
the different conversations that are going on. How many children you got? Where'd you grow up? Where do you live now? Why? Uh, I see you've got uh, Jeep Gladiator on 72-inch rims, and why do you need that big a tire? And goodness, I bet your
Mhm.
vehicle weighs 19,000 pounds. Goodness, how do you go anywhere? It was just one thing after another, and so I thought, how cool would it be for us to talk about different things? Uh, Appreciate you, Galen, and congrats to your
Oh
brother
my
on his
goodness.
retirement
Wow.
as a 34-year police officer. 34 years. Uh, I
That's a
can't
million
imagine
regular years.
how much I've been doing it for. I think I'm on my 12th, 13th year now. I can't. It's changed so much since I started. I can't imagine 34 years. It's changed so much, and I can understand why he would want to get out because it's not getting any better. So, congrats to him. Thank you, Galen. I appreciate that. That's pretty cool. But anyway, we were just listening to all the different things, and we've got some people that are listening to us on live on Instagram. Little Brown 4AZ, are you Overland West 15th anniversary? We're not going to be there, and I'll tell you why. Both of us, my wife and I, both work in a school, and Overland Expo West comes at the absolute worst time of the year. There's only 3 weeks left of school, and I can't take a week off.
Oh, no.
We neither
Mm-mm.
one of us could take a week off to go out there. So if they would move it to June, I'm in. But
Mhm.
they do it at the absolute worst time of the year for us. So until I'm like Galen's brother and get to retire, I won't be able to go.
Yeah, I know. They haven't yet consulted us on when they should hold it. I'm waiting their call, but,
Yeah, yeah, they don't care.
I don't
They don't
you don't think we're
care.
high enough on the list?
High altitude trailer companies here. Appreciate you being on there all the way from Colorado. Good friend.
Hey, hey, friend.
Um, and Little Brown 4AZ says support the Blue Line. CNL Adventures on the road to Overland Mountain West in Flagstaff. Safe trips. Hope you enjoy your time out there. It has been said to be one of the coolest things ever. So I hope you really enjoy that. Casey Reese, miss you as well. I know Casey is a school teacher as well. She should have just a few more weeks until she's out. I bet
I
she's
don't
counting
she's
the
in
days, just like I
Oklahoma. They
do.
may be done sooner
Yeah,
than
they may do things
Arkansas.
different out there. I hope you're surviving and having a good time. But
Doing
man,
8th, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
2 days.
combat.
Look at there. She's got 2 days
Oh,
left.
I'm so jealous. We still have 12.
We got
I
12 days left. It's the 12
oh,
days of Christmas, starting today. So Michael has joined us all the way from Alaska, brother.
hey,
Good to
Michael.
see you, and I hope you're doing well up there. I know it's probably getting warm up there, and the mosquitoes are coming out, and we got a tail on mosquitoes here in a minute. Um, so sitting around the fire, talking about different things, and you have actually come up with a list of things what that maybe spark my campfire conversations, and that's what everybody does. Conversations just lead from one thing to another to another to another. People just pull their chairs up. And by the way, I just want to say, and I can't remember what kind they are, but we just got the best, absolute best chairs ever. I am so excited. I need to
Yeah.
figure out what they are because they are so, man, they're so good. I love them.
So, well, when he said we're gonna do campfire conversations and just chat about different experiences, I was like, "Oh my goodness, we could do camping superlatives," because of course, who doesn't like a theme?
Yeah,
But
we
I
gotta have.
but I have to tell on Gen X Overland. Not tell on them, but they told the funniest, oh my goodness, feral is the word, Casey.
That's right.
But Matthew and Monica told the funniest story, and this is what made me thinking of camping superlatives because it was sounds that turn out you freak out in the middle of the night that turn out to be actually kind of funny. And so they won that camping superlative because they were camping, and I believe it was in their Gladiator when they one of the first times they had it out, maybe,
Hmm.
but they didn't. They had pops
Oh yeah.
in the freezer and in the middle of the night. exploded, and it completely wigged them out, like, "Oh my god,"
I
and they
remember
ended up
this. They were down in the Washita's, asleep in the middle of the night, thought they heard a cannon go off.
Yes, and there had
And
been some interesting people that had been camping not too far away from them that were I think were exactly, yeah, exactly, get told on the show, and so
we're
they
telling it all, telling it all.
uh-huh, and so they heard these they couldn't figure out what it was, they thought it was the people that were camping close by,
Shooting guns.
something was yes, and they went home and they realized after they got home, the pops had frozen and exploded in their freezer, and
Yeah.
that's what they and when I say, like, went home in the middle of the night, it was like 3 o'clock in the
Yeah, they
morning, they
got up
packed
and
up
packed up
camp
and left. They were
and went
gone.
back home to tell
Uh, and because they thought people were shooting at them, but it was their Coke had exploded in their fridge. Uh,
and I was like,
so
"That is awesome." That
yeah,
that is that is a campfire is all about that kinda stuff. I know when
yeah,
I was like, "What are you doing?" And you said, "I'm teaching," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm a
yeah,
teacher too." And that was when I found out that Matthew and Monica had been teachers as well, and they
yeah.
actually taught in the taught at the same school.
Hmm.
It's all the good people have something to do with
All the
education.
good times. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it's where you learn a lot about each other because a lot of times around camp we are busy bees doing something. We're cooking, setting up, taking down, washing clothes, taking showers, going poop, whatever we got to do. But when you sit around the campfire, that's when you actually sit down and you're actually able to relax, let your guard
Uh-huh.
down, and play get to know you. And
Yeah.
that's what we do. So,
Yeah. So I just was thinking of just funny superlatives like worst bugs. Like when
whew, there's probably
Ooh.
some people listening right now that's got some stories on worst bugs. I have a story on worst bugs. It was, and I've been in some situations where there's been a lot of bugs, and I totally love the bug zappers and the things that we have to get the bugs away. But last summer we were so excited because we had secured one of the most epic campsites that I had ever stayed at. I found it on uh over the
Hip camp? Or no, the one
Overlander
the
uh
yeah.
Overlander app or whatever it is. What's white powder? I don't know what that is, Michael. But we're camped right on the shores of Lake Michigan, right underneath the Mackinac Bridge. And I was so pumped. I mean, I had my camera out. Every angle was amazing. The FJ, we cooked a great dinner. We got to watch the sun go down. We just sat there and just watched the cars go back and forth across the Mackinac Bridge.
And
It
the
was
bri
just
the lights and just I mean, dusk, it was stunning.
and there wasn't anybody out there was one other person out there besides us, so it was just absolutely stunning, and I've learned since then that you can't camp there anymore, but anyway, I had always wanted to camp there since I get white powder donuts from our first ever camp out. I said it, regretted it. No, no. Yes, that's correct. Regretted it for sure. Um, but it came time, we were sitting there, watched the sun go down, epic time. We were tired, decided to go to bed. And for some reason, I don't know if just the time that it took us to crawl up in the rooftop tent or maybe one of the windows was open. We got up in there, got all comfortable, went to sleep, and I kept feeling mosquitoes around my face. And I was like, what in the world? And I kept, doing this, trying to swat mosquitoes, and I was slapping myself in the face. And that happened, not once, not twice, but three,
All
four, five,
night
20 times. And I'm like,
long.
what is going on? I should have killed this thing by now. And I turned the light on, and I swear there was 1,000 mosquitoes inside that tent. Inside the tent.
He loses it. He is rubbing his hands against the window, against the walls to rub them into oblivion, like trying to smash them. He is he's going crazy. And
I went absolutely nuts.
at this point I am so tired because the sunset in Michigan
Oh,
triangles.
that's a good story, Casey. The triangulas.
The but at this point I'm so tired because I mean the sun when it sets up there, it's and it gets full dark. It's so far north that it's actually pretty late. So it's full
Mhm.
dark like at
It
11.
had to be in like 11 o'clock
Yeah,
before the
it
sun went
was
down.
yeah, exactly. And I'm exhausted and but I swear every time I woke up that night, you were sitting up in bed and you were
Oh,
just slapping, just clapping, just
come on now, they were killing me. I bet I had 1,000 bites on my face, and it was like the longest night ever. And
you didn't sleep.
boy, when I saw that sun come up, I got out, and I guarantee you there was not one mosquito outside. I got outside, and it was just perfect. There wasn't a mosquito out there. I just sat out there and had my coffee, and I'm like, there are more mosquitoes inside that tent than there are out here in the whole world. I
And I
promise you.
think that's the only time I've ever seen you wake up grumpy. The only
Oh,
time I was still sleeping, Peach did her thing where she starts at the bottom of the bed and wormed her way up. So Peach is in the bed with me for a little bit, and then you get her out. And I finally wake up, and you're outside. You're drinking your coffee. You got you are
mhm,
you're just kind of in your chair, just the waves of grumpiness coming off you, and I think that's the first morning that you didn't make me coffee right away. You said, "Well,
mm.
I was just waiting. I was waiting for you to get up," but you are not a happy
All I
camper.
had to have done was just open the windows, and they would have had a place to go, but they were trapped in there. They didn't know what to do except, you know, bug me. Oh, that had to have been the worst bugs. Now there was a time, and I mean this was years ago. This was probably 24 years ago. Um, I took my daughter up to Mount Nebo. It's the second tallest um, mountain in Arkansas, and she and I were gonna go camp, and we did one of the hike in camps. You know, we've been around that bench trail. They have a bench trail, they have a
Mhm.
rim trail, and we went down the bench trail. We walked about 3/4 of a mile or so. Set us up a little ground tent, and we did our little thing. You know, we made our fire, and and we. She was like, "Dad, it's dark, and I'm scared. I want to go to bed." So we crawled in our tent, and I shined a light in that tent, and there were ants everywhere. There were like beetles everywhere inside the tent. I don't know how they got in there. It must have had a hole in it or something because they were everywhere in there. And it was hot. Oh my gosh, it was hot. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is miserable. I'm just laying here sweating. I got bugs crawling all over me." And she was like, "Dad, this is not fun. I thought this would be fun." And she was like 6 years old, you know. She's like, "Dad, I thought this would be fun." I said, "I did too." And I just looked at her and I said, it was like 10 o'clock at night. And I said, "Listen, if you won't tell your mom, we'll go get a hotel room." And she's like, "Okay." So we left and we went and stayed in a hotel room that night. And that was pretty fun. But man, bugs in the bed. I've
Yeah,
gotten bed bugs before. We've gotten bed bugs before.
I don't know what those were,
We
but
woke
there
up
was
with bumps all over our legs at More Expo a
yeah,
couple years ago from my Airbnb.
yeah.
This year, that was 2 years ago. This year, I woke up with bumps all over me. I don't know where they
Ugh,
came
yeah, that was weird.
from.
Little itchy bumps, and then I
Itchy
had 'em,
bumps.
like, a
A week
couple days
later.
later. Yeah,
Yeah,
it showed up,
I don't know what it
and
is.
I don't know,
Got weird
something
things
about the
happening around here.
yeah. I think a bug story that I remember, though, was, when fire ants. I didn't realize fire ants
That's
until
right,
moving into
because you didn't grow up
Arkansas.
in Arkansas, and we got
Uh-uh.
introduced to fire ants from Texas. That was their blessing to us, their gift to us, and
Yes.
so I didn't know what they were when I was younger either.
And I'm the first time I thought fire ants would look different, like, for some reason, I thought they'd be fiery red. I knew that they hurt. I didn't realize how they hurt, but it wasn't until when what I thought was a regular ant got on me, and I was like, "Holy mother! Oh my goodness." It hurt so bad, and you're like, "That's a fire ant, you haven't had one before?" But when I where were we at? We had the trailer with us, and we pulled over in a church parking lot, and
I was in Texas.
it was
We were
okay, we
on the way to the, Calvary Overland Campout at Outback RV of Texas.
Okay.
That was when the FJ messed up, and I had to pull over and turn it off and let it cool off a little bit or whatever. And we were there, and
We pulled into a church
you
parking
were
lot.
standing right in the center of a fire ant pile. I was like, oh
I
my
looked
gosh, get out of there, get out of there.
and all I did, I mean, like, I am so glad that church was not going on because I I
You
do
screamed the F
know
word.
I
You
I
did.
did. I do know some choice words, and
Yeah,
I dropped a
we had
few
to
because
ask
all I could
forgiveness on that.
imagine was
Whew.
but I did the fire ant dance, and I think
Mhm.
I mean, when they were covering my shoes, they would start to creep up my legs, and I look like one of those reels on Instagram where it shows, like, the church filled with the spirit, and everybody's doing a
You
little
were filled
dance.
with the Spirit.
I
Yeah,
was. I was filled with the fire ant the fear of the fire ants, and
yeah.
I only wound up after that with all my shaking and dancing and stomping, I only wound shaking them off, I only wound up with
Mhm.
3 bites. I was pretty
Everybody's.
proud of myself.
Well, I was introduced to fire ants at church camp when I was a kid at Gary, Texas. It was 852 degrees. I was walking across the field. I stopped for something, stopped right in a fire ant pile, and I didn't know what to do. They were biting me like crazy, stinging me or whatever they do. And I went and jumped in the creek. But little did I know they still bite underwater. I didn't know
Ooh,
they won't kill them. And so, yeah, just so you know, if you try to
look
drown them, they don't drown. Mm.
look at you, little
Man,
you
here we are
the
from
more you
mosquitoes
know.
to I'm just like I'm starting to itch all over.
Well, no, I just was because there's camping, bugs and camping could go hand in hand, so I was like,
They
"What's with
do.
this?" Just a good bug story. So when I worked in Pennsylvania at the ministry, and we took our campers out on a backpacking trip that was the last night, and we went backpacking for a couple miles, set up camp, and then we backpack out in the morning. And we usually had about 10 to 15 girl campers and a 10 to 15 boy campers. And so the way that we would set up camp is we just used tarps. We would put a tarp on the ground, and then we'd put a tarp, keep it pretty low, just a couple
Mhm.
feet above it, and then at an angle, so if there's any rain, it'll just go right off. But we
Mhm.
didn't tent camp, we just tarp camped. And I learned real fast that you make sure that you're not at the bottom of the that if there's always a slant, nothing's ever flat, which is part of the Appalachian mountains, but I would always make sure I was at the because there's inevitable that everybody slides down, and if you're at the bottom, you've got 10 to 15 girls
Mm.
on top of you. But I kept hearing in the middle of the night, I kept hearing something in my ear, and I was like, "What is it?" It was like the sound of my hair going together like this. And I finally reached up. There was a humongous grub that had gotten in my hair and was just chewing on my hair. It was so I pull it out. I'm like, "Oh my gosh," I had to turn on the flashlight, and I'm like, I woke up the assistant girls counselor. I think it was Caitlin at that point. I wake Caitlin up. I'm like, "Look at what was just in my hair." It's like
Oh my
the
goodness.
middle the middle of the night. So,
So if you were on the episode of Alone, you probably would have started a
I
fire and
probably
cooked
would have
it and ate
eaten
it and
it.
got some
Yeah,
protein and all
I
that.
probably would have eaten it. Yeah. Ugh. But, you can't have camping without bugs. It's part of it,
That's part of it.
and that's actually I hate I think I don't like spray. I don't like bug spray. It gets, I mean, I'll use it, but I don't like it directly on my skin. It burns, and then it doesn't, and then it just weird
Mhm.
weird feeling, but, you gotta do what you gotta do. I think this season is gonna be bad ticks. It seemed like Go Explore, they were dropping from the trees. Everybody's
I
pulling
think they were
ticks
dropping
off
from the
of them.
trees. I really do.
Yeah.
If you're camping in Arkansas from now till September, just be aware. We tried to stay out of the grass, um, and Galen says try the Sawyer brand bug spray, and
Yes.
I agree. I've got
That
I've got some Sawyer that you actually spray your clothes down with. It is phenomenal. It is awesome. Whatever clothes that you're going to camp with, spray your clothes down, and it will keep a lot of the ticks off of you.
And it'll
But
keep them off for through so many washings, like,
if
you
you're,
can
uh, if you're wearing
okay.
shorts though, and you've got legs exposed, then that's a different story. But I swear, I would just be standing there and I would just feel one. I mean, they were jumping. I think they were falling out of trees. I don't know where they were coming from, but yeah, they were coming from everywhere. But they're going to be bad. Make sure to wear
Yeah.
tick spray because you don't want that alpha gal, whatever.
I don't, that's the thing. When we were backpacking and I found the tick on me, I teared up and I was like, "No, I'm gonna get alpha gal."
Yeah,
I'd rather like, the idea of not being able to eat beef or pork anymore
yeah,
just terrifies me.
that would be
Okay,
awful.
yeah. So, of course, you can't have camping without bugs. The other thing you can't have camping without is poison ivy. Poison ivy. So I wanna hear your best poison ivy story. I wanna hear
Um,
your either your worst poison when you got it the worst or when you avoided it the best. How
so a little bit about me. If you want to hear a little bit about the history of me, I um, I used to work at Ace Hardware Distribution Center in Maumelle. I was a forklift driver, truck loader, stocker, order filler. I did pretty much everything there. Even went into management for a little bit, but I got so tired of working for other people. I wanted to work for myself, and I got this wild hair. Went down to the international place and bought me a semi and a log trailer, and I started logging. And
as one does, you know.
hey, why not? Uh, and so went into big time debt, humongous truck payment, and insurance payment and all that, and started logging. Well, about a year and a half into it, I traded for another truck that was cool. The one that I originally bought was not cool, so it was okay. But there's this thing about truckers. I mean, you got to have a cool rig, and so I saw this Peterbilt on the side of the road. And it's like I got to have that thing, man. That thing is super stinking cool. Hey, there's Peach.
Yeah.
And so I got the cool truck. Well, the cool truck was cool looking, but the engine was awful. And I blew the engine up. And so that put me down for about 2, 3 months. Well, in that 2, 3 months, the guys on the logging crew let me cut trees. They let me, drag trees. I got to run skidder, got to run loader. I came home one day and I started itching. And with me, the itching is starts in one place. You take a bath, and then it gets in my bloodstream, and it starts popping up everywhere, like all over my body. And so it started out on my arms, went to my chest, my neck, face, everywhere, bottom of my feet. It was just awful. I went and got a shot, and um, it didn't help. Uh, and so I had to go back and get another shot. And they don't like doing that. They only like giving you one shot for that stuff like every 6 months. And I went back
Yeah.
a week later. I was about to die, and I had to get another shot. But I mean, I had it so bad. I was covered in calamine lotion, 24 hours a day. Couldn't stand it. Couldn't do it, and I was just done. But I don't think I've ever got poison ivy while camping.
Oh,
Um,
I have.
I've been, I can see it, and you got to be really careful when you run off into the bathroom or get up at night to pee or whatever. You really got to be careful. You get there, we get to camp. This is one of the advantages of getting to camp before it's dark. You look around, see where all the stuff is,
I
that's going
mean,
to
and
get
right
you.
now, that's the main ingredient of all Arkansas underbrush in May
Oh
is
yeah,
poison ivy.
yeah, and but I don't think I've ever got it camping because I really, really stay away from it because I am highly allergic. I've got it so bad that I can get within 3 or 4 feet of it, and it just like you know
Mm.
attacks me from afar.
Pops up.
I can't do it.
Oh,
Mm.
well, I got some last weekend on my
You
arm. It's
did,
almost
still got it.
yeah. Galen's never had it either. See? I mean, he's never had it.
Some
That's
people are not
amazing.
allergic to it. Uh,
See?
some people are, but I get it bad. It
Oh,
gets in
my
your bloodstream and it travels around. It pops up all over your body. It is a
no.
mean, mean deal. I don't like it.
Well, the first time I got it was when I was a kid playing, um, in Southwest Missouri at my grandparents with all my cousins. And I was we did not have chiggers where I lived growing up. We
Mm.
lived all over the place because my dad was in the military, but we didn't have chiggers. And so when I go to Missouri and visit family in the summer and we'd stay for weeks with my aunts, uncles, and cousins, I would get in such big trouble with my dad because I'd take my shoes off and run through the grass barefoot. I'd lay on the ground. I'd sit there. My dad would say, "Get up, you," because I would get terrible bug bites. That is one thing. I get terrible bug bites, and
Because
so
you're so sweet.
well, thank you. That's exactly it. Um, and I we were playing hide and go seek one night, and I must have gotten into some poison ivy, and a couple days later I'm itching just like crazy, just oh my goodness. But I didn't want to tell my parents because I thought it was chiggers, all the little bumps. I thought it was chiggers. And it was just my legs were covered. Oh my goodness. I finally sobbing just showed my parents. I was like, the chiggers are so terrible and I can't help it. And I'm sorry, I was running barefoot and I played hide and go seek in my shorts and I got in the grass. And my parents again, they said, "That's not chiggers, you got poison ivy."
Oh my
And
god.
so that was my first experience with poison ivy. And since then I probably get, a case like every few years just out camping or doing things. But
Mm.
one of the most notable ones was when in college I was on a backpacking trip with friends, and we driving driving to the trailhead that night. It was horrendous weather. There were tornado warnings. It was just,
Sounds fun.
thunder, yeah, thunder crashing and just lightning piercing the darkness. And we get there, and we said, "Well, what do we want to do? Do we want to camp here by the car? Do we want to start?" And we're like, "Let's go ahead and get started." As wise college students, that was,
Mhm.
make the very good calls. And so we start, and it was raining so hard, and I mean it was so windy, and I just started crying because I was like, "This is so miserable," and it's the first, like, night. It's pitch black. It was awful, and I'm just and we're and it was kinda like Eagle Rock Loop where we started, where everything went straight
Mhm.
up. I mean, we were going it must I'm pretty sure it was in the Ouachitas, and we were just going straight up. And weeks later, one of the girls on the trip, Kelly, was like, "You were so funny because all we could hear was the rain and you crying."
Good
But
memories.
we yes, it was great. So we get to the top of that first mountain, and, I think we actually I don't think we did a second one because we could have descended and gone up again, but that one, we it was just such muddy, slippery,
Mm.
nasty going, just sliding back, it was
Mhm.
so hard to hike on a rocky trail when it's pouring rain in the dark. I mean, oh, it was just miserable. And so we get to the top and we're like, "Let's go ahead and set up camp." And so we set up and in the morning when we unzip the tent, we're in a glade of poison ivy. We just were
Oh,
like, "Okay, we have it." So, I mean, we all covered legs, arms. All of us were RAs. And so in RA meetings the next few weeks, all you heard during the meeting was us
scratch.
scratching, was the scratching. We'd be rubbing our legs to, oh my goodness, it was awful. So,
That's
but you
awesome.
can't have, yeah. So poison
Mm.
ivy is part
It's
of the
part of
camping
it.
experience.
It's part of it.
And then the other part of it is weather. So I want to know about the worst weather that you've camped in. What's been your scariest, or maybe you didn't get scared because he's the guy, y'all, that when the tornado warning, he's like, "Okay, you go get in the bathroom with PJ, and I'm gonna go out and watch and see what's
Well,
happening."
yeah, it's a little bit different when you're in a rooftop tent because it's kinda like you're holding yourself up there for God to take away. You're right up there in the wind. This was 2022. It was May 2022. I was camping with Scott Jubert, one of my old friend buddies, and the old man. The judge was there. A couple other guys were there. We were at Woolham, camped right on the water. So where we normally camp back in there in that hole, if you go around, you can get to the gravel bar, and we were actually camped right on the gravel bar. And we stayed Friday night, and we are going to stay Saturday night and then Sunday. So I got there Friday night. Man, they had a meal prepared. It was nice and cool. We had, my goodness, we ate so much food. sat around the campfire, told lies, all night, and talked about guns and fishing and what them old men like to talk about. And next day we were just hanging around.
Okay, and they really do.
Hmm.
I've never seen so many gun magazines at a camp out than when
And
it's Old
guns,
Man Fish Camp.
actual guns.
Yeah, it's like
It was
it's
like,
so
check this
funny.
new gun out, boys.
Yeah.
I go here, shoot 450 yards
It
through a
is
thicket.
so funny because 'cause I'll be like, "Oh, I last time I just cracked this joke about like, "Oh my gosh, I haven't had a chance to
Yeah,
issue yet." And everybody was like, "Really?" And I'm like, "No,
really.
not
Yeah, they were
really."
like, oh my gosh, we read it. We go straight to the toilet right when it comes out. Um, but anyway, we were there, and the the guy for the that's right on the Buffalo National River, and the national park uh, officer came down there, and he said, "Guys, just want to let you know there's some weather coming." He said, "It's going to hit. You need to get ready. It's going to hit." And I'm like, "Man, that's something, because we don't get any service down there. We didn't know. It was a
Oh, no
beautiful day.
kidding.
The sun was shining."
Mhm.
And so uh we were like, okay, well, we start packing everything up, and I thought, I'm gonna stay another night. I'm just gonna leave my tent up, and whatever happens, happens. I'm sure it'll rain pretty hard, whatever. But we put our awnings up, we put all our kitchen stuff up, and then here in a minute, Kelly Cook, which is another part of the Old Man Fish Camp, he drove all the way from Missouri to come down there and tell us, guys, the weather is fixing to get really bad. And we're like, oh, crap, appreciate you. That's what a good friend does. Make sure, he takes care of his friends. Him and his wife came down there. So we're like, okay, batten down the hatches, batten down the hatches. As soon as I got the latches on my tent, the bottom fell out. And I ran around. I got inside. We just sat inside our trucks. We were kind of lined up, one right after another. I was right beside Scott, and then the judge and Mike was right beside me. My FJ was doing this. It was hailing. It was raining so hard I could not see Scott's truck, which was 10 feet away from me. And the wind was blowing so hard, blowing trees down all around us. We were talking to each other on the radios. And I was like, guys, I think this is going to be our last day. I think we're done. Uh, It was one of the scariest moments I've ever been
Oh,
in a
goodness.
vehicle, and I was really glad I decided to put my tent down because I'm pretty sure it'd have ripped it smooth off the top of my.
Mhm.
But there was a tornado just on the other side of the wall of the Buffalo. One just ran right down the south side of us. It lasted about 40 minutes, and then it was gone. Got real cold. We got out, was
Mm.
looking, and underneath Scott's truck, where Scott had backed his trailer up to the water, there was a trench where the water had ran down that hill. There was a trench 3.5 feet deep that went right down the center underneath his truck,
Oh my
where the water had just carved a path out. That's how much water had
oh
come
my
through there.
gosh.
And we were like, okay, with this much rain, the water's probably fixing to rise. We were going to stay another night. We were like, nope, we're out. And but we didn't get it near as bad as the Boy Scouts, because the Boy Scouts
Oh,
were on the river. They had launched about 2 hours before that, and they were actually on the river. I don't know where they were, but by the time we decided to pull out, they were pulling in to their campsite, which was just up above us. So they were out on the river during all that.
oh
And
my
so
goodness.
hopefully they found a bridge to get under or something, because that was bad. And
Oh, yeah.
I didn't enjoy that at all.
No, I don't mind. I love a good rain. I love being out in the rain and hearing a nice gentle rolling thunderstorm, but when it's lightning right around you, like I'm not a I love seeing lightning from afar. I love watching lightning from the porch, but lightning when I'm out in it and it's striking around me, completely different experience.
Mm-hmm.
That is so unnerving. I'm
Mm-hmm.
scared of lightning. And I've been in a couple places like when in Pennsylvania one time when I was walking back, um visited friends that lived on one part of the property, and the property was humongous. It was hundreds of acres. And so where they lived to where I lived was about a mile. And so, but I walked everywhere. And so I'm walking back, and they said, there's a storm coming. I'm like, oh, I'll be fine. I'll make it. Don't, it's good. And right when I got to the where the upper horse pasture and the lower horse pasture were walking on the road, it just lightning everywhere all around me. And it just
Mm,
really, I wanted to hide under a tree so badly, but I realized, like, in this field, in the road that I'm walking on, I'm the tallest thing because it had the area all around me had been cleared out pastures. And so I just was, ugh, I ran very fast. And there was there was another time in Pennsylvania, I mean, not Pennsylvania, in Michigan, when we were there, and we were down at the beach. We could see that, clouds were rolling in, and I said, "Y'all swim. I'm just gonna watch the weather." And then all of a sudden, the clouds started rolling in faster and faster. And so I started whistling for everybody to, and our like, "Go ahead and get out. It looks, yeah, go ahead and get out. Go ahead and get out." And then all of a sudden, everybody's hair that hadn't been in the water, everybody's hair went up like that.
oh, that's weird.
And it's
A lot of
when
electricity.
Yes, exactly. It's the charge. I mean, that means that a strike is usually imminent.
Hmm.
And I was like, "Everybody get out, like, get down, like, everybody get down." And so we
Yeah,
did that. We hunkered down until everybody's hair went back down. And then I was like, "Run!" And so we
you're
start
getting PJ all excited over
I know, she's, like, getting closer. So we run, and there's, we run up the stairs. Okay, so it's metal stairs that go up the side of the bluff,
there.
and at the top is a tree, and there's nothing else. It's metal stairs and a tree, and you're sitting on the metal stairs, and I mean, just feel like a lightning rod. And we're on the stairs, next to a tree, and everybody's hair goes back up like this. And meanwhile, Chloe was with me, she's right next to me, and I'm like, she's like, "I'm scared. What can we do?" And I said, "Pray." And she starts going, "Powers of darkness, powers of light, powers of darkness." And I'm like, I'm like, "What is that?" It's some stupid, like, kids, like, show spell or something. I don't know. And
Oh
I was
my
like, "You're
goodness.
gonna get us hit by lightning on purpose." Like, stop it. But we
Oh,
hunkered it
that's
like where I'm
gold.
like, we're just trying to get up the stairs as fast as possible, and everybody's hair is like this. And then when we got to the top and we're sprinting across, they have a baseball field where they have, like, teams that dress up in outfits like, 1800s baseball, early
Mm,
19, all the
mhm,
and all the old stuff they play there on that field. But we're sprinting across that field, and that's when just the heavens opened. And
mm,
talk about deluge, but that was one of the scariest times. We weren't camping, but ugh,
yeah.
one of the scariest times with weather when our hair went
Well,
straight up to the
you can probably talk to a lot of people who's going to listen to this podcast who were at Rendezvous. I'm going to say it was 2021, the fall of 2021, when we were at the last time we were at Birds Adventure Center. It was Friday night, I believe. I was camped there in the vendor section, and we don't have service there,
Mhm.
and it's unreal how you cannot have service, but the government still get a hold of you because all of our phones went off with a weather alert, and I was like, how you do that? And Aaron Paris from Switchback Outdoor Safety, he ran over. He said, "Did you just get this?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And everybody's phone went up, and it was like 11 o'clock at night. A lot of people were sitting around the fire. A lot of people had went to bed, and I was like, "Man, I don't know what to do. I don't know what's coming." We could see lightning off in the distance, and all of a sudden, you could hear the wind just coming down through there like a freight train. And so I had got down out of my tent, and I sat in the driver's seat of my FJ, and I had everything set up. My tent was set up. My awning was out. All the tents were set up with everything. And Tony's got a good story about this too, because him and somebody else, I don't remember who it was, were standing underneath their easy up on all corners, just holding that thing down to keep from it coming off. My tent fell, so I heard my tent fall. It was up and it fell, and then my awning blew completely off of my FJ and took out the tent that was next to me, and that tent fell on
You're
top of
welcome.
all of
Oh
on
my
top of
god.
all of the merchandise that we were trying to sell, and I was like, I ain't going out there. I mean, it was just straight line winds, just like pounding, just like pounding. I was like, I'm not
Uh-huh.
going out there. And I mean, I just sat there because I mean, all you can do is ride it out.
Uh-huh.
And we just rolled that one out, and we got out, and I was like, man, my awning was laying on the ground way over yonder somewhere. There was
Whose was
stories
it
about.
this year? It wasn't their awning, it was their was it Overland Shower Guy? Who's,
Oh yeah, that
got
was
blown
that
by
was
the
2 years.
wind?
That was not this past year. Was it this past year?
I think it was
It
because
was
I was
this
there this
past year
past
when the
year.
wind started blowing real big and it blew his easy up in the air and over into somebody's Jeep and so. Oh my goodness,
I
so
know we
fun.
like giving each other gifts. Who knows where when we wake up,
Hey,
where's
here's
it
my
gonna
easy
be?
up. You can have it. My goodness.
But there's nothing like, yeah, a good weather story when you don't realize how bad it's gonna be.
Oh my goodness. Probably one of the scaredest I've ever been was in South Dakota.
Oh,
Um,
yeah?
yeah, when bad weather was coming, I was up there with a bunch of guys, and we were camped in tents, and there was a bar that was like it was like a building, like a metal building, not a metal building, but it's like a barn, wood building.
Mhm.
And so they had a stage up there with a bar and stuff. So we're like, look, we better go up there. We went up there and we sat there having drinks and stuff, watching people's tents blow away. I mean, out the end, they had the whole like end of it open, and all these tents were like blowing up in the air and rolling across the field and stuff. It was so funny because we went back and our tents, had collapsed and they were full of water and stuff. But that next morning, we were up there for the motorcycle thing, and it was so funny the next morning watching everybody. They just got a bungee cord, hooked it onto their tent, and drug it up to the dumpster. And the dumpster was just completely surrounded by these tents that were just mangled and ripped apart. It was so hilarious. Oh my gosh. Oh man, I got some weather stories. Goodness gracious.
They're so good.
Yeah.
Well, let's is there has there ever been a time camping that you felt like you just narrowly avoided disaster that wasn't necessarily weather? Maybe there was something that, like, I don't know, close call hiking or was there any time that you've ever narrowly avoided
Oh
certain death while
my
camping?
goodness. Let me think. Now there was I and I tell you, I don't know if I've told you, but I've had nightmares about 2 weekends ago. Um, we were we were searching for the campsite for Go Explore,
Oh, yeah.
and we wanted to get there and secure a campsite because there was like 10 or 11 up rigs, and we needed a place to stay. And I was going to send on the inReach back to Brad where we were staying, and they were out doing the high watermark trail. Well, we found this great little road, and it went right beside the Big Piney, and we were going down there. We were like a quarter mile from where we were trying to get, and the road went into the Big Piney, and it was
And it was
high,
deep.
and I
It
was
was
like,
deep.
it was deep. I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So we turn around, and as soon as we turn around, I take off down the road, right beside the road, and I mean, it's like the road is here and the Big Piney's here. I mean, it's just like here and nothing. And I'm like, crap. We went all the way down this road, like 4 or 5 miles at 2 miles an hour. It was a rough road. And I got to find another place. So I was kind of messing with my inReach when I turned around, and my front right side tire fell off the road. And I was like, oh my God. And I jerked it back onto the road. And fortunately, it came back on. But that could have been disaster. That made my butt pucker.
Yeah, I didn't realize because your voice was panicked and you did Professor,
That's
I
good.
Joey does not cuss usually.
Mm,
I don't cuss that often, but I do say more choice words more often than he does.
Yeah,
He rarely cusses, and he did. That's how I knew it was
that scared me.
like, oh,
Yeah,
yeah, because he did let loose a little word,
yeah,
a little
yeah.
choice
That
word.
scared me a little bit right there.
Yeah.
That's the most recent thing that is in my mind because that was just a couple weeks ago. But um, the the thing that really comes to mind now that you say that, uh, as far as weather, was 2 years ago with Go Explore in Washington.
Oh, yeah.
Um, you know, uh, we got up that Friday morning, and it was going to be, it was raining pretty hard, but then it rained on and off throughout the day. We knew where we were going to camp. We went there, which was at um, Fl- let's see, Fork Mountain.
Mhm.
Right there at Fork Mountain, we were going to get in that little crook right there, and that's where we were going to camp. And nobody was there, so we set up a few things, went and got some lunch, and came back. And we were just sitting around there, and it was like 2 or 3 in the afternoon, wasn't it? It was,
Mhm.
yeah. And they were out doing the trail, and we were sitting there, and it started raining, and then it started raining, and then it started raining a lot and really hard. And so we went up underneath the edge of the cliff there, uh,
Mhm.
right there where you park for Fort Mountain Falls. And you and I and Peach were up there, and Danielle was taking a nap. She was actually in her tent, and I mean, it was nothing but water between us and the vehicle. It was just one runoff after another, after another, after another. And I think it rained 4 inches in an hour and a half or something like that. It was
Mhm.
outrageous what it was. But when it finally stopped raining, the low water bridge right there, between us and the outside world, the only way out, was about 3.5 feet deep of looked like Niagara Falls. I mean, it was just rushing,
Mhm.
whitewater class 5 rapids. I mean, it was bad. And I just thought, you know, how are they going to get to us? I don't know how they're going to get to us.
They didn't. Tony got
And
to us, like,
yeah,
through some
and
through
it came
some
that night.
daring do that may have been a butt pucker moment for him.
Yeah, and it was. We talked to them on the radio. We had all the food because we were cooking for them, and they tried to get to us, and they went up to it, and I just got on the radio. I said, "Y'all do not need to try this. It's bad, really, really bad." And I didn't know how long it was going to last, or if we were going to be able to get out the next day. And so it was. That was a scary moment when you're trapped in an area that you can't get out of. That kind of gives you a feeling that I may have messed up here, coming here. But you were there. How did it make you feel?
Um, well, we were tense. I think that's one of the first times we gotten into an argument. Like
Yeah.
like it was, yeah, it was you had gone over to the FJ, and I was wanting you to come back and get me because I had PJ over there anyway. So
Hmm.
I mean, it was tense, but it was when I think when Tony got over, we were like, okay,
They can make it.
like yes,
Yeah, and it
it's
had
okay.
went down. By the time he tried it,
Mhm.
it was night. It was dark, which
Mhm.
made it worse actually, for me, because I was worried about him getting over there. But the other group had went down on Highway 7, found a place to
Yeah.
sleep, and
And they had their lunches, so it worked out, but yeah, it was I think at first it was fun, like, "Oh, wow, I wanna see all the water. This is so cool," and then it was like, "Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
what do we do?
This is a lot of water.
How long are we gonna be stuck here?
This is a lot of
There
water."
was so much water we couldn't even get to Fort Mountain Falls. We
Yeah.
hiked up there, tried to look at it, and it was completely underwater. Everything was, uh,
Yeah.
and that was just one of those butt pucker moments where we were like, I really don't know. But by the next
Yeah.
morning,
Yeah,
we
it
went to
was
bed. By the
done.
next morning, it had gone down, and
Mhm.
significantly, it was still across the bridge, but it wasn't rolling. So
Mm.
everybody was able to come in, and we fixed them
We
breakfast the next
Yep.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a close moment though. But
It was.
yeah, the weather, um, yeah, and that. you know, you talk about a time when you really thought you messed up. Um, I didn't think that was anything about us messing up, but we were kind of forced into a situation where most of the time I know what to do. I can figure things out. I can get us out of most anything, situations or whatever, whatever. At that
Mhm.
time, I didn't have no idea. With the water rolling over there like that, I'd never seen it like that before. It was very, very dangerous. And I really didn't know how long we were going to be there. And because, I
Mhm.
mean, it rained a lot in a very short amount of time. But
Mhm.
fortunately, it drained really good. So it all
Mhm.
worked out. And the next day, we went around to the the lake, and we actually had to drive on the road through water to get to the little island, and I'd never
Mhm.
done that before, and that was kind of living on faith that we were going to get through there. And then
Yes.
everybody else, I was like, "Come on, it's okay, we made it.
It's
You can do it."
yeah. Uh-huh.
And that ended up being one of the most beautiful campsites we've ever had. So
Oh,
that
yeah.
was
That
so
was
good.
really good.
Yeah.
I think I've given him some butt pucker. I think I've given you some butt pucker moments when I love hiking. I love high places. I make him nervous when I wanna get close to the edge sight and see the view and see how far down it is. I and he's like, "Please don't. Please stop." There was one time Shelly and I were hiking and on the Buffalo, and we'd gone it was at Steel Creek. If you cross the water there, you can go up across from Steel Creek to the bluffs to the
Mhm.
top and have great views of the Buffalo in both directions. And so we it's there's a hiking trail that Tim Ernst, you can find it, but Tim Ernst,
Mhm.
Ernst has written about it in one of his books. And I can't remember the name of it, but we had done that hiking trail, gone up, gotten some great pictures of the buffalo. And Shelly doesn't like heights. She won't like when we did the goat trail, she didn't go all the way to the goat trail, like down to the end of it. I'm good. So on that one, we go up and she's good, and I'm the one that's calming down and getting a little closer to the edge. And I took a selfie and just smiling and like to see it behind me. And then when we got up and we looked at the selfie, I was like, holy moly, because I didn't realize just how close, like, because I was holding it up so high you could see where my
Your
feet
feet
were
were.
on that.
Mhm.
And I hadn't realized that was a moment for me. I was like, that was very unwise. The people that are
Yeah.
taking selfies of
Yeah.
themselves and step off into the abyss. So that was when I was like, maybe I don't need to
Yeah.
do that particular trick again.
Well, and you gave me another, butt pucker moment, because on that same trip where we got stuck, we ended at Pettigene. We were out on Overlook, Pettigene Overlook, and, I took you out there and I proposed. I got down on one knee and you freaked out so much you knocked the ring out of my hand, and I thought it was gonna go down the mountain, and there it was, and I'd be there without a ring. I was listening to an audiobook today, and the guy said that he proposed to a lady on the Appalachian Trail with a, Funyun. He picked
Oh,
out a Funyun that was
mm,
the exact size, and, I guess I could have used one of those, but
yeah,
yeah,
funny.
that was a butt
Well,
pucker. Well, I thought we
I
were gonna lose the ring. My
thought
goodness.
I gave you a butt pecker because you weren't because you at first after I was like, oh my gosh, it was later that you were like, did you say yes? So was it
Yeah, I
yes?
don't remember you saying yes.
I
Yeah,
said
that
yes.
is exactly right. Oh
I
my
said yes.
gosh. We got 1,000 stories, but we are here at the end. Uh, we're going to have to just close her up and come back again and finish up some more stories. But that was fun reminiscing, around the fire. And, anyway, thank you for leading us. That was cool.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me. I love
Yeah.
I love being on here. And y'all, it's so much fun to have all the comments and Galen and Casey. It was good to see y'all. Or
Yeah.
good to hear from you.
Yeah. Good to hear from you.
Casey, I'm so jealous it's not even funny.
No kidding. 2 days.
Oh my gosh. We got until the Thursday after Memorial Day.
Yeah. Now, next year it'll
Yeah.
be different. But this year, we
Mhm.
got a lot to do. A lot to
We
do.
do.
Well, hey, everybody. I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Take care of yourself. Get out there and enjoy the great outdoors while you still have time. And, tell, an officer this week you appreciate them. It's police week. Hope you have a wonderful week. Look out for number one. Don't step in number two. We're out. See you.